a written production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.
Good morning. I call this Board of Directors meeting to order and ask that you rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to our December board meeting. I'm Kat Fimmel, President of the 2023 Boards of Directors. This regular meeting of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Board of Directors is audio and video recorded by the RCSC management and staff. Please be advised that there is no individual recording of this meeting. Please put your cell phones and electronic devices into the silent mode. I'll try to remember at the end to remind you to turn them back on. Our timekeeper, for the moment, our timekeeper will be Director Nowakowski. An introduction of management staff, Matthew D. Luzansky, the General Manager. Kevin McCurdy, the Director of Finance.
Morning.
Mike Whipru, the Director of Building and Infrastructure.
Morning.
Brian Duthu, the Director of Golf and Grounds. Mike Diermeyer, Director of Bowling.
Good morning.
Jolynn Higgins, Communications Coordinator. Good morning. Beth Lucas, Communications Manager. Marcia Johnson, the Corporate Executive Coordinator.
Good morning.
And up in the booth, we have Doreen Rafferty. Good morning. We do.
Barry and Angie.
Oh, we have Barry Maslow, correct? Barry Maslow. My apologies. And who else?
Angie Bird.
Angie Bird. Okay. Okay.
Ellen.
I'm sorry?
Ellen Kleinhans.
Well, I was going to thank Mr. Kleinhans, our audio-visual engineer. Okay, and I also will thank the staff here at the facility for preparing the room for us and keeping everything shipshape. I'd like to take a moment to welcome any members who are here for the first time. Do we have any members attending their first board meeting? Hey, welcome. Welcome. Okay, the first order of business is the roll call vote for quorum confirmation. Secretary Totten.
Thank you, President Fimmel. Vice President McAdam.
Good morning.
Director Fast.
Good morning.
Director Nowakowski.
Good morning.
Director Ruff.
Good morning.
Director Nichols.
Good morning.
Director Collins is not here. And President Fimmel.
Good morning.
And I'm here. We have a quorum, Madam President.
Thank you. First up is the approval of the agenda. We have two requests this morning for changes to the agenda. The first is to allow Mr. Duthu to make the RCSC update, his portion of the update, right prior to the committee recommendations. The second item, we have, what is that called? The consent agenda. We've got a conflict with Robert's Rules of Order on the consent agenda, so we would like to move that item to new business. With these two changes, I would ask if there are any questions or comments about the agenda for today's meeting. Hearing none, the agenda will stand as amended. First up is the approval of the minutes. These would be the minutes of the November 16, 2023 meeting. They were posted. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Hearing none, the minutes will be accepted as written. Next is the treasurer's report. Vice President McGowan.
So the treasurer's report as of the end of November, RCSC has in unrestricted funds 19.1 million, which includes a 2.5 million cash reserve. Under restricted funds, which includes both PIF and the capital reserve, 31.8 million. The capital reserve is 5.6 million. A carry forward of 10.5 million. Year to date, the corporation has operated within budget.
Are there any questions on the treasurer's report? Yes. Director Ruff.
I'd like to ask Mr. McCurdy, on the balance sheet, the accounts receivables went from 2.2 million to 249,000. What are we doing differently this year? Or what did we do differently this year?
Director Ruff, that was an adjustment to the way we account for assessment revenue. That was an audit adjustment that the auditors did. We didn't all of a sudden lose $2 million of receivables. It was a reclassification adjustment that came about as part of the 2021 audit. So,
Okay, well, where did that money go on the sheet then, in the balance sheet?
it's just reserved for, it's an adjustment to reserve for some of the AR balance. So
Okay.
we still retain the full accounts receivable ledger. This is stuff that's more than 1 year old that we're required to fully reserve per the advice of the auditors.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Are there any other questions with regard to the treasurer's report? Okay, there being no further questions or additions, the treasurer's report is filed for audit. Next is the management report. Are there any questions or comments on the management report?
I had,
Secretary Totten.
perhaps this should have been under treasurer's report, but it's not in the paperwork. The capital projects for 2023, Mr. McCurdy, there's 3 categories: closed, in process, and budget. And I noticed that at this time, we still have some that are budgeted, such as resurface shuffleboard courts for 15 million, is it, or 15,000? 1,000, and, excuse me, I'm getting away here. There were a couple of others that caught my eye. Lakeview dumpster enclosure, 30,000. When do we expect to get these finished?
So those projects are underway. They're being bid out, I believe. Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the dumpster and the shuffleboard recoating are in the process of being bid and quoted. So those will be done. They will not be done this year. but we don't just slam the door shut on projects from 2022. We carry that over into 2023, and we will complete that job. The vast majority of the unspent but budgeted dollars that are left are for things that we have ordered, and in some cases ordered almost a year ago that just haven't been delivered yet. The dehumidifier and some golf equipment in particular. We've had those items on order for a very long time, and it's just supply chain issues. They haven't been delivered yet, but they are on order.
So that leads into my next question nicely. On the work in progress schedule, under fitness equipment, we still have a remaining balance, and also under the Lakeview pickleball courts, and of course, well, not of course, but the IT infrastructure. I'm amazed at the amount of money that's left in each of these when they're all from 2022.
Yeah,
So
the
is it
fitness
again the supply and demand and
The fitness
inflation?
equipment was actually completed. That's the Bell, that special fitness equipment for Bell that was ordered and installed.
Oh,
Lakeview pickleball, that was the design work for looking
Yes.
at converting the tennis court.
and where did that go?
That's on hold as part of the,
Oh, the money is still on, okay.
so there is budget there, but the project in conjunction with the pause on Mountain View, the project to convert the Lakeview tennis courts to pickleball is also on hold. So that will be a decision for the incoming board, I would guess,
Okay.
in 2024. The IT project, it's a little misleading because a lot of that money was spent on operating headcount and not on capital items. So we have spent the vast majority of that $500K. It's just, it was put onto this schedule, and it's not being spent on capital. It's not being spent on hardware per se, but it is being spent on things like we added 2 heads using that board-approved $500,000, and that's running through our operating budget, not through the capital project budget.
Thank you.
The pickleball courts here at Lakeview, not here, and I'm not at Lakeview, I'm at Sundial, but at Lakeview, should be resolved with the second reading of the item that closes out that issue today.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
We have a question over here.
Director Fast.
Kevin, in the management report, it said that the net operating excess was $2,646,500. In the statement of income and expenses, it says the excess is $3,159,977. Can you explain to me the difference?
Can you cover those 2 items again? Which 2 items are you talking about? The net excess actual or the budget or the variance?
This is the year-to-date net excess. Operating excess was $2,646,000 on their report in the financials section. On the statement of income and expenses, the bottom line says year-to-date actual, $3,159,977. I would have expected those numbers to be the same.
So the actual operating excess is 3.1 million year-to-date through November. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find the first number that you mentioned, John.
Oh, yeah,
Director Fast.
it's in the third line from the top.
Yep.
Okay, see it, net operating excess was,
I don't even have that. I don't have that.
you don't have the management report?
No, mine
Yep.
starts at page 3.
You might have caught me there, John.
You want to get back to me on that?
Yeah, the true net operating excess through November was 3.171. I may have fat-fingered that one.
I don't have this sheet.
I will look into that and get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
No, that's okay.
Are there any other questions or comments on the management report? Hearing none, the management report is accepted. It is now my honor to install the 2024 Board of Directors-elect. I call to the podium Mr. Preston Keiss, Ms. Connie Jo Rickmeyer, Mr. James Ruff, and Ms. Anita Borski. Okay. Members of the board, members and directors-elect. On behalf of the RCSC Board of Directors, we congratulate you on your election to the board. During your tenure on the board, you'll be called upon to serve numerous varied and conflicting interests on behalf of the corporation and its members. The RCSC board and the membership has placed their trust in your leadership, expertise, and judgment to act in the best interests of the community as a whole. Do your best, knowing that the decisions you make today will lead to the success of Sun City. Directors-elect Preston Keiss, Connie Jo Rickmeyer, James Ruff, and Anita Borski, do you pledge to uphold the Articles of Incorporation, the corporation's bylaws, and the board policies to the best of your ability, and to work for the betterment of our community?
I do.
Your elected term commences January 1, 2024. On behalf of all of us, we thank you and wish you success in this undertaking. Ms. Nowakowski, could you join me on the floor, please? Director Nowakowski, you are ending your term with us, and we want to take a moment to recognize your service to the board and to the members. You have served on numerous committees as chair and co-chair, served as liaison to a variety of organizations, and even served on the bid commission. We are honored to present you with this award, plaque, gift.
Plaque.
Okay. And we thank you for your service to the community.
Thank you, Ms. Cat. Do I get a chance to say now or later? Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure to serve as a director here on the RCSC board. But I'd like to thank the people that are here that show the interest in doing it. I'd especially like to thank the staff. A lot of people complain about our staffs because they don't do things the way some people expect them to do it, or in the time frame that some people expect to do it. But I'd like to thank the staff for their listening to me, especially. I have had some varying opinions, obviously, over the last 2 years. And it's been a pleasure to work with them. They've always been professional. I'd especially like to thank Marcia Johnson, our administrative coordinator, because without her help, many of us would be very, very lost. So Marcia, thank you. Thank you. And with the rest of the board, we've had our trying times. We've done a lot. And I wish the best to the new board members so that they can continue on the process that has been started. So thank you.
We also want to recognize Director Nichols, who is ending his appointed term on the board, and we thank him for his service. And finally, while Director Ruff has recently been elected to the board, we want to recognize him for his appointed service to the 2023 board. Thank you. Next is the Recreation Center update report. General Manager D. Luzansky.
Thank you, President Fimmel. And good morning, everyone. And perhaps you're a bit sad this morning since this is our last RCSC meeting of the year. But don't worry, you know, Christmas and New Year's are upon us, and we'll have an entire year of more fun and adventure with meetings and halls and get-togethers soon. So with that, we do have a lot of motions today, so I'm going to be brief. In case you missed it, we had our holiday extravaganza last Friday here at the Sundial Rec Center. We raised almost $5,000 for the foundation, so thanks for all the people that participated in that, and we also put some holiday cash into some of the pockets of the participants for several of the lucky folks that won the split the pot and the other various things. So we really had a good time. At least I did. It was a wonderful event. Thank you to our staff again, who really pulls this off. It's really a semi-volunteer operation, more like assigned duties to the staff. And a special thanks to Mike Dermeyer, our esteemed bowling leader, who's volunteered to step in and shepherd our staff for last Friday's event and beyond. So he's doing some double duty there for a while. We also had record participation in our golf cart festive decoration tour, I'll call it. I'll come up with a better name maybe next year. We had over 100 entrants. It was much longer this year. It was about half on streets and about half on the golf course. And with the 100 plus, I think there's maybe 110 official entrants. We also had, I think, several that joined in along the way, unofficial entrants. But it took over a half hour to do the course. Now, I expected people to come back and, you know, we could kind of gather around, but only a handful came back, most dispersed as we approached the light out here. But it was really great. We had hundreds of people lining the streets and lining the golf course. Lots of little fires going on driveways and fire pots and people in their backyards. So we're encouraged that this is going to be a great start to a tradition that we can build on, and a couple of maybe course corrections in terms of where we go and which courses we drive on. So that was a great deal of fun. I have yet to undecorate my golf cart at my grandson's request. We'll be here in a few days, so he wants to ride around on it, so you might see it again. Coming up tomorrow, we have the official opening of the relined and refurbished lake. It's at 3:30 at the dock. It gets kicked off, and there's going to be 1,500 new members, or actually, residents, in the form of rainbow trout. And they are going in perhaps even as we speak. So they're 1 to 2 pound trout. So that should be fun. So if you want to go fishing, I guess the time is upon us. The boat parade, unfortunately, is not going to match the golf cart parade because a lot of residents have had trouble, in timing to get their boats in. So there won't be a large contingent, but it'll be a great start for us to build on for next year. So I'd like to say that we've learned a lot this year in many areas of the RCSC, and we plan to use that knowledge to make next year even better. A lot of the things that the board has put into place and things we've talked about over and over about how, transparency and getting things done and working together, we're going to continue that. We're going to add to some of those things planning and schedules with improvements to our communication and our timeliness of communication. We need to look at better scheduling of events, and I've got several people working on it with me, and we're also making several adjustments to our staff and our organizational structure. So there's more to come on that. Like I say, it's next year's right around the corner, so take a little breather from meetings, and we'll be back at it soon. So thank you all. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you. For my comments today, we want to thank you for your support that you have given to us this year as we faced many difficult challenges. During this transition to a higher level of self-governance. It may not have been perfect, but it was productive and has moved us forward and made our community better prepared for the future. Thank you. Do we have any announcements?
Yes, I do.
Secretary Totten.
Thank you. At this time, I usually speak about my 3 liaison organizations that I work with. I've enjoyed attending each of those, met a lot of new people. The Friends of the Library is meeting right now, so sorry I missed you. So I don't really have anything to report there. And my 2 SHOA meetings will be in the next 2 weeks, so I can't make an announcement of anything there. I would like to say that we've had a tumultuous but very productive and transparent year, and in spite of many changes, the staff of RCSC has not missed a beat. I feel they need a round of applause. Anybody else?
Is that, okay. Next up is the committee recommendations. They do not require seconds. And per the agenda change, I will ask that Mr. Duthu make his presentation.
Madam President, Directors of the Board, is it okay if I turn it around? That way I can see the arrows coming. This is just a brief presentation on the impact of golf on turf with some excerpts from various USGA reports on the subject. The first one is the Taming Runaway Golf Carts. It was written November 2nd, 2018 by Dave Otis, Regional Director of the Northeast Region of the USGA. Quoting, "Keep all four wheels on the path. There is a tendency to pull just off the edge of paths when parking carts to make room for passing carts. However, it's best to stay completely on the path and let other carts go off the path to pass as necessary. When carts are pulled just off the path repeatedly in the same location, turf dies, soils erode, and cart paths gradually get wider." And you'll see in some photos later how true that is. And that should say courses with 4 players are dealing with 2 to 4 tires just off the cart path. With 5 carts, RCSC courses are dealing with 2 to 10 carts, or 2 to 10 wheels just off the cart path. The next is an excerpt from Golf Carts, 5 Things Every Golfer Should Know, written May 19th, 2018 by George Waters, Liberty Corner, New Jersey, USGA. A single golf cart riding down the fairway has little to no effect on the turf health or playing conditions. It is the cumulative effect of many carts that eventually takes a toll on the grass. This is why cart damage is most obvious in areas where traffic is concentrated, like the ends of cart paths. Doing your best to steer clear of high traffic areas can greatly reduce the impact of your golf cart. The cumulative effect on RCSC courses increases by 40% when 5 carts are used versus 3. The next one is an excerpt from More Rounds, More Carts, More Damage, November 6, 2020. Steve Kammerer, PhD, Senior Consulting Agronomist of the Southeast Region, USGA. While the average weight of a golf cart can vary from around 500 to 600 pounds, this does not account for the weight of acid batteries, which can add another 400 to 500 pounds. So a cart with batteries and 1 set of clubs is 1,000 pounds. Add 1 rider that weighs 150 pounds, and you have 1,150 pounds in total. Traffic across one area of a fairway or rough, where just 50% of the carts travel with 100 rounds of single riders, equates to 57,500 pounds of weight on that turf grass per day. That is almost 29 tons daily. Over the course of 1 month, that equates to the weight of 4 Statues of Liberty, 225 tons, compacting grass in a rough or fairway. With 5 carts, again, the amount of wear and tear is concentrated further. The next few slides are just examples of the damage. The first one's from Willow Creek, which is not one of the more extreme examples. There was from around the green and tee box area. Next one's probably one of the more extreme examples, and that's from Lakes West. You can see the amount of wear and tear, especially where people pull off for shade in the summer. Has a large effect on the greens and tee boxes. The next slide is some more pictures from Lakes West around greens and tees. The next one's from Riverview. Just some more. They're all fairly similar, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on each picture. The next one's from South. The one area is where people are, rather than using the path, decide to take a shortcut to get to the street, and then just some more off the path, and one golfer that did us a favor of actually parking off the cart path while we were taking the picture. And the last one is from Quail Run around the greens and tees. So just some pictures to show you the visual impact of what we're talking about. And it's not so much the wear and tear in the fairways that we're concerned of, it's the area around the tees and greens where the traffic gets concentrated. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will return to our committee recommendations. First up is Director Nowakowski.
On behalf of Director Collins, which states on behalf of the Golf Advisory Committee, I move to amend Board Policy 17 title Golf section and title Green Committees as follows. The changes are, I don't know if I should read the whole thing or if just the changes. Let's start with the changes, and if there's any questions beyond that, we can turn around and try to go through the whole thing. Right now, each Green Committee will have a maximum of 6 voting members. The term of each member will be striking a maximum of 2 3-year terms. So the motion would be that the term of each member will be 3 years, no term limits. The next change is if there are more than 3 male and 3 female candidates for a Greens Committee, then an election must be held and conducted by the respective Greens Committees. And the next change would be that ballots will be collected at the pro shop or by the Greens Committee. That would be elections of the Greens Committee, which then become the people that are on the Golf Advisory Committee. The next change is the Greens Committee will meet once a month, except in June through September, at a selected course, at a selected location in lieu of at their courses. That's the changes, unless somebody wants me to read the entire paragraphs.
I think we'll proceed. Did you have any additional comments you wanted to make before we turn to the membership?
Yes, this was reviewed and recommended by the Golf Advisory Committee. I know that there was some considerable amount of effort that went into it. Director Collins had a doctor's appointment. He's on his way. He's close, but he's on his way.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Johnson, please read the names of the members who signed up to speak to this motion only.
Alex Planone.
Good morning. Alex Panone, 140359. I recommend that we table this motion. The current Golf Advisory Board does not meet the current Board Policy 17 requirements, which makes any recommendation they make void. The Director of Golf, the General Manager, the Board have been notified on numerous occasions in writing about the violations of Board Policy 17. Response from management has been there's nothing they will do about this. The term for what's going on is called selective enforcement. I have some legal advice here. What to do in case of selective enforcement? When management and the board fail to behave in a fair and consistent manner, homeowners may be left with few options. In some extreme cases, it might be possible to sue the HOA for selective enforcement, but this is not recommended. The most sensible course of action is to talk directly with the leaders of the board and discuss the problem. If there are competent board members and they should know how to tackle the problem and listen and address the issues from all perspectives. Management that puts the community in a vulnerable situation should be removed and dealt with accordingly with the company rules. End of the legal opinion. I recommend that before any changes made to Board Policy 17 be done, we need to enforce the current policy. Then the valid committee can make any recommendations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You said we're not in compliance with board policy?
We are not in compliance with Board Policy 17.
Could you be more specific?
Sure. We have members on the local committees and on the Greens Committee meetings that are ineligible to be members. I've notified every board member in writing. I've notified management in writing. I've talked to Steve Collins, and you guys just refuse to enforce Board Policy 17. You are putting this community, right now, you can't enforce any board policies, because once you go with a precedent of not enforcing one board policy, all your board policies become ineligible.
You say that you have ineligible members?
You do.
And-
I don't want to name names, but I can
No, no.
right now.
Could you tell me the classification of
Yes.
why they're ineligible?
Yes. You have members who are privilege card members. They're not members. And then you have members who've term limited out. Currently, right now, term limits are 2 3-year terms. I know of 5 people who have term limited out. 3 of them are on the Greens Committee.
Okay, thank you.
So you can't vote on this because what the recommendations they made are not valid, and you have management that absolutely refuses to enforce the policies. I was told at a meeting where I pointed out 2 members who were sitting at the table, and management's response is, I'm not going to address this.
Okay.
And the board is aware of this. And I hate to come up here and hold you guys, that you don't know what you're doing, but we have a problem.
Well, the board is aware of it. That's why we're
But you
making
shouldn't
this
be voting. You
recommendation
shouldn't-
today.
But you shouldn't be voting on this. You can't vote on a motion from something that was given to you by a committee that is not eligible. The committee that you had that gave you this recommendation is not eligible to give you a recommendation. The person who seconded the motion is not eligible. They shouldn't even be on that committee.
So you're saying there's a defect in the motion?
No, the motion is not valid because you have a member who's not eligible under current Board Policy 17 that they should not be on that committee.
They are one part of the committee.
But it doesn't
The
matter.
committee
If
is
you have-
acting as a whole.
No, they are not acting as a whole. I have a legal opinion on that. If you have one person who's not eligible, that entire committee is not eligible. You have to enforce Board Policy 17 or all board policies. Otherwise, you're not doing your job. You're liable.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
Madam President, everyone who signed up has spoken.
okay, thank you very much. Is there any discussion with the board members?
Director Collins is just coming in. He
We'll give
might
him-
have some additional information.
We'll give him a moment to take his seat.
I do have a comment.
Let's get to his seat and then I'll recognize you.
Can't you run a little faster?
The first one. Alex just said that it's a legal motion. Do you have any comments
Secretary Totten, you wanted to comment?
after Secretary Totten?
Thank you, Madam President. I had read this and was confused and got clarification just now when Director Nowakowski said that it would be, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong page. There would be no term limits. That would be like telling the board members that we have no term limits, that we can stay on here forever. So I am not in favor of this.
Actually, they can stay on for 3 years, and if they choose to seek to be elected again, they can. Their limit is 3 years. Do we have any other comments or
I'm sorry, could you
issues?
repeat what you just said?
Madam President,
Okay.
Director Collins.
there is still a term limit. It is 3 years, then they would have to run for election. It's just not, the part that was changed is it's not just 2 terms like us, and then we're done. They can continue to serve if reelected and get another 3-year term.
Director Collins, why do you feel this is necessary?
Because at the end of their second term, they can never, they're done serving, they can't be on the Greens Committee, and we have vacancies because we have people that have met that criteria and can no longer continue.
But aren't there
Secretary
isn't enough-
Totten?
I'm sorry.
It's necessary because the Golf Advisory Committee has made this recommendation, and we are trying to move forward with the recommendation of the Golf Advisory Committee.
I understand that, President Fimmel, but isn't the Golf Advisory Committee made up of people who have probably met this 6 years or how many years, and perhaps don't want to relinquish their seat? Is there no other new blood in the golfing community that would want to serve?
They are relinquishing their seat because now they get 2 3-year terms. And here, they get a 3-year term, and then they can choose to seek an additional term.
They still have to be elected, Gene.
I understand that.
They just are not limited to 6 years.
I understand that.
Okay. Do we have other, Director Nichols?
Yes. There I'm on. We have, and I think it was last year, the year before, went through and unfortunately had to clean house of some of our committees because we had privilege card holders on those committees and our bylaws didn't allow it. Why it wasn't done with the Golf Advisory Committee is beyond me. Let me finish what I'm saying. And I think that the point brought up by our gentleman here just briefly before is a very good point, and to be consistent, we need to appoint the appropriate members, okay, I guess rather than say clean house. And I think that needs to be done prior to passing any recommendations from the Golf Advisory Committee. Thank you.
Madam President.
Director Collins.
That issue was brought to my attention, and he was immediately removed from the committee, and he was replaced. That was a month ago, when it was first brought up that someone had joined that was not a card holder. They had moved to Royal Oaks, which made him then change to a privilege card.
Thank you. Do we have other comments?
Yeah, I guess, Madam President.
Director Fass.
I'm just curious, Director Collins, when this was recommended by the committee, was it a unanimous vote? Do you recall?
I believe, I don't recall, but I know it was over a majority.
Okay, all right, because the thing I was going to ask is if it's merely a matter of ineligible people voting and they make no difference. So as this gentleman says, let's say there's 2 people that have exceeded the 6-year term and you have a vote of, let's say, 5 to 4, and they voted, that those 2 could make a difference. But if it was 8 to 1, then it doesn't really matter.
No.
You misunderstood. I said
You're
there's
out of
2
order.
people. I'm not out of order. There's no.
You're out of order. The directors are speaking. You are out of order. Mr. Pennell, please take your seat. Please take your seat. Thank you.
I am.
John, to answer your question, the people that voted on this are the Golf Advisory, and none of them are in question here. It was only one of the Greens Committee, one Greens Committee.
You are out of order.
One Greens Committee that a gentleman got on with a privilege card. So he immediately was removed, and they put someone in his place. Now, how it works, if everyone on that committee, let's say, got their 3 years, they would all have to run for election again. Anyone else that wanted to run for election could also run, and then it would be picked, the people that are needed to fill the seats. So everyone would have a chance at it, but you're only limiting it to every 3 years they have to run.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just wondering in this circumstance whether we should maybe table this till Or I guess if it goes to the next board meeting?
I don't see any reason to table it.
Okay.
We have corrected the problem on the Greens Committee.
All the voters were...
If Alex wants to run for the Greens Committee, I'm sure that we could do an election there and allow him to run again, since they did have to replace someone who was on there with a privilege card.
Okay, but the Golf Advisory Committee that met, all of their members were legitimate, and all of their votes were overwhelming.
Yes.
And in one instance, completely unanimous.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you. Secretary, point of order. Who is calling a point of order?
What he's saying is not true. There are members on the executive committee that are not eligible. He's stating that all the people on that committee are eligible. I can come up and name names. I don't want to do that to embarrass the people, the people who are on that committee. But you're not telling the truth. There are people on the Greens Committee that are not eligible. He lied.
Thank you. Secretary Totten.
Thank you. You know, golf has been in our headlights for this entire year. I would like to go on record and ask if we couldn't please have a meeting with all golfers and our head of golf and the committee people and the golf advisory group to talk about these issues and see if they can't be worked out.
There's a reason why we have a Golf Advisory Committee, and that is to represent the community's golfers. What you're suggesting, well, I suppose it's possible to get 7,000 people together in a room to address these issues. Excuse me. Do we have any more comments from the Director Ruff?
The question that I didn't hear asked was how many of the members of the Greens Committee have exceeded 2 3-year elections?
Well, you got to understand, the Greens Committee, every golf course has one, so we're talking multiple members. I couldn't give you a number.
How many members of the golf committee that came from the Greens were more than 3?
That's what I mean. I don't know how many. That is all something that is taken care of at the Greens Committee level and the SGMA and the SGWMA. And they have elections and they pick people. So I couldn't answer how many of them have exceeded their 3-year terms or 6-year terms at this point.
I would have thought that if the issue was raised, you'd at least check to see who meets it and who doesn't.
Well, the problem is that we couldn't get people to fill the seats. It isn't a problem that there's a huge waiting list to get in and no one will let them. We have seats. And they're empty.
Are they advertised when you have seats to the entire golfing community?
It's not the entire golf. Well, I don't know. It is posted, and it's posted in the golf courses when they need people for the Greens Committee. It is posted in the clubhouses.
Point of order, that's not a true statement.
Oh, jeez.
They're not posted anywhere.
Excuse me, sir.
Actually,
do we have any other comments from the directors?
Maybe Brian could add on that.
Mr. Duthu?
You're on. Madam President, directors of the board, as far as on the Green Committee, I can think of 3 or 4 that are potentially past their term limits. I know those courses have tried to recruit members in the past and have not. I have addressed this issue several times with the golf advisory committees throughout the years, that how board policy is stated. The current board policy calls for the SCMGA and the SCWGA to handle those elections. I can't say that they've always been posted, but that is the direction we're moving in.
So thank you. If it were not for these folks, we would not have sufficient members for the Golf Advisory Committee, correct? Thank you. Other comments from the directors? Director Fast.
Yeah, I'm wondering if one way to handle this is to treat this as a motion as opposed to a recommendation, and just vote on it as a motion?
We need to vote on it, yes.
Okay.
Are we prepared to vote? And no further questions? Okay, Secretary Taunton. Yeah. Vice President McAdam.
Okay, so I'm just a little confused. It seems like there's two problems. We're talking about people, A, who have exceeded their term limits, and B, who are not members but privilege card holders. Do both of those objections still exist?
There are no privilege card holders. They've been removed.
Okay, so there are no privilege card holders. So the only issue right now is that we have some people that are violating the current policy that limits their service on a Greens Committee to 2 3-year terms. Is that correct? And right now, we're in a situation where in order to solve the problem of not having adequate numbers of people to fill the positions that are available on the Greens Committee, we could fix that by eliminating the term limit. Is that correct? So basically, this is an attempt to solve the problem and to make sure that we are actually operating in accordance with board policy. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And if we don't do this, we have a problem that is unsolved.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Secretary Taunton, please take the roll call vote.
Thank you, President Fimmel. Director Collins?
Yes.
Director Nowakowski?
Yes.
Director Fast?
Yes?
Vice President McAdam?
Yes.
Director Ruff?
No.
Director Nichols?
No.
President Fimmel?
Yes.
And I vote no. That's 5 yes and 3 no.
Okay. With 5 to 3, the motion passes its first reading.
Madam President, I move to waive the second reading on this.
Motion to waive the second reading. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Director Collins. Any comments from the directors?
As I've always stated, I will not vote for a second reading unless it's an emergency.
Madam President,
Director Collins?
this solves the problem, and come January 1st, we will have issues where we will have to take people off the committee if we do not do this. And this is the final meeting of the year, so if this is not passed, waive the second, this will take until March.
Thank you. Any other comments from the directors?
Yes, I believe Director Ruff and myself have been assigned to work together this next year on the bylaws and the policies, so it seems like maybe we could work on this policy first and it could be reconsidered.
Thank you.
In March.
In March.
Thank you. We have a request, we have a motion to waiver. Do we have any other comments? Seeing no other comments, Secretary Taunton, please take the roll call vote.
Thank you. Director Collins?
Yes.
Director Nowakowski?
Yes.
Director Fast?
Yes?
Vice President, excuse me, McAdam?
Yes.
Director Ruff?
No.
Director Nichols?
No.
President Fimmel?
Yes.
And I vote no. 5 yes, 3 no.
With a vote of 5 to 3, the motion is, of the second reading passes, and the motion is adopted. Next item is the motion on behalf of the Golf Advisory Committee to amend Board Policy 17. Director Collins, please read your motion.
On behalf of the Golf Advisory Committee, I move to amend Board Policy 17, titled Golf, section titled Golf Rules and Regulations, item number 4 as follows. For safety reasons, no more than 2 people, 2 bags are permitted on a cart. Driver must have a valid driver's license. There should be no more than, instead of 5 carts, 3 carts. For any group on all golf courses, and we scratch out, and a maximum of 5 players on regulation courses and no more than 4 carts on any group, or maximum of 4 players on executive courses. During the periods of normal operation, riders in rental carts will be required to ride 2 persons per cart when possible. At the discretion of the director of golf, 5somes may be allowed on executive courses. And we scratch during periods when other courses are closed. Motorized carts must be kept at least 30 feet from greens and parked on the path while putting. It is permissible to park off the path around tee boxes for the purpose of seeking shade. Carts should stay on the path or in the rough as much as possible. Special attention should be given to avoiding leaving the path in areas where grass is wet or worn. When it is necessary to leave the path, a 90-degree rule should be followed. This means staying on the path until opposite your ball, driving straight to it and straight back after hitting. All pull carts must remain in the highest cut of grass around greens and trees and tee boxes. Handicap golf permits are available at the Golf Administrative Office at the Riverview Pro Shop. Rules may differ for golfers who have handicap golf permit. Handicap golf rules will be dispersed at the same time of the permit is issued.
Director Collins, as maker of the motion, do you wish to speak first?
Yes. Before COVID, this was the rule. Everyone was happy with it, everyone did it, and that was the way it was. COVID is what made us go to 5 carts with 5 people. COVID is over. We have been doing damage to our courses since COVID started. The other issue we have is, and I'm one of them, a ranger. And I have not been out there ticketing people for not observing the 90-degree rule, which we definitely need to do, and we need to start ticketing our residents and non-residents if you do not abide by the 90-degree rule, which means you hit your ball, you go up 90 degrees over, back to the path and go. You do not run fairways with your golf carts. We need to change that. We need to ticket people, and we need to make our people start complying with the rules that will save our courses. And this is one that will save them.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, please read the names of the members who signed up to speak to this motion only.
Jack McCall.
Jack McCall, 167265. Brian, thanks for the pictures. Yes, I've seen that all the time. And Director Collins, I agree with everything that you say here, except for the 3 carts. If you observe the golfers on the golf course, it's not the carts, it's the drivers. They can't stay on the path, they can't stay up next to the tee boxes. They just go wherever they want because they think they're privileged, and they don't have any respect for the golf course or the maintenance that it takes to requires to repair their things. So will a 3-cart rule slow play? Definitely. When you have to wait for 2 carts to travel to 4 balls, it adds time to the round and wait time. Solutions, I heard a couple there. The 90-degree rule should be applied at all times, not just.
Supposed to be.
Yes. And golfers need to stay 30 feet from the green. Well, some people don't know the difference between 10 feet and 30 feet. So, Brian, there is a paint that you can buy that you can do a line from the rough to the cart path, 30 feet from it, and it doesn't damage the grass. I've seen it work at a different course that I worked at. You could take and make some holes golf cart only during the week. That way the grass has a time to recover. Look at that possibility. Carts should always be next to the tee boxes and the greens. The only exception was when you said in the shade, and that should be not on the tee box for sure, and at least 30 feet from the green. One thing that was only mentioned briefly was the handicap players, and I'm not sure about all the rules, but what I've observed is they don't care. They're right up next to the green. I think they're supposed to be, what, 10 feet away? They should be at least 10 feet away. I don't know what it says. And so, well, that's not, to me, that's not far enough. It should be farther. How do you enforce these? You mentioned it, Steve. That's the Rangers. They need to be able to give a ticket, or at least a warning and then a ticket, and there should be a fine or loss of rounds, something. That's up to the committee to decide, but they need to earn their stipend. And we need more Rangers, and I'm not sure how you recruit them, but there needs to be more Rangers per round. For instance, one on the front, one on the back, especially during really busy times. And you mentioned COVID. COVID is not gone. It's still around. It's not as prevalent as it was, but right now the flu is extremely present. Ask anybody at Banner Health. They're restricting visitors because they're so overwhelmed with flu cases. So it's out there. I don't really want to get into a cart when somebody may be unaware that they're sick, especially when some of these carts are enclosed. So, you know, it puts myself at danger. And if, like for instance, if I have a cold, I hate to get in a cart with somebody and give it to them. So a lot of us have money invested in carts, and so I hate to see my brand new cart sit while I ride with somebody else or I have somebody else ride in it besides my wife. So don't punish the majority of us because there's a few that can't seem to follow the rules. Just get on their case. I mean, I mention it to my players all the time that they're too close or whatever. So please, don't pass this.
Thank you.
Floyd Cummings. I don't know if you heard Floyd Cummings.
I'm going to pass him. He said everything I would agree.
All right. Johnny Pearson.
Johnny Pearson, 131078. A couple questions, General Manager. You had 110 golf carts on the golf course. Whereabouts were they?
On the path.
All of them? For the whole 30 minutes?
Lead carts, I couldn't see them all.
Ah, so you really don't know?
That's where they were supposed to be.
Okay. That's the whole purpose of this. All of them supposed to be on the golf cart.
Exactly.
Brian showed some pictures of damage on the golf carts. My question is, was that damage there when we were using 3 carts?
I'm sorry?
Is that new damage, or has that damage been there for a longer time?
It's damage that's certainly been increasing since we've gone to.
But has it been there with 3 carts?
We had issues with people parking 3 carts, yes.
And typically, the 5 carts don't bother the fairways and the rough? I mean, the rough in this time of year gets worn down a little bit. But around the tees and the greens, isn't there another option about the tees and the greens? We could put granite. We could widen it with pavers. We could do things to help repair the damage that we have now. I mean, I see areas that that could be fixed with either pavers and or granite, and you've done it in some places on the golf courses, but not on others.
If you've looked in the places where we put down pavers, then generally what happens is then where the pavers are, they go beyond where the pavers are. Of your 2 suggestions, the granite around the tee boxes would probably be the most sustainable.
And then I've noticed that they put up the stakes at Willow Creek, and I see some at North. I think those are good ideas too, to direct traffic away from the worn areas.
Lakes West as well. That's the direction we're going.
Direct traffic away from the worn areas would help keep the violators from doing what, you know, not the 90 degrees. I'm not in favor of the 3 carts. I prefer the 5 cart. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ron Barrio.
Good morning, and thank you for your service, and thank you for the new board members. And you guys have sometimes a thankless job, so I do appreciate all your service on all the committees. So I've only been to a few boards, and it's very eye-opening, and you guys have a lot on your plate. A lot of things have already been said. With regard to the...
Can you give us your member number, please,
Oh, I'm
sir?
sorry. It's Ron Barrio, 133367.
Thank you.
And I understand with the compactions issues, but you know, a lot of us are military golfers, and if I'm sharing a cart, we're bouncing back and forth across the fairway and probably even racing back to the other fairway to get another golf club. You know, maybe you end up damaging the course just as much with 3 carts as with 5. Just in the fact of going left and right across the greens, trying to keep up with the pace of play in golf. I also agree with the COVID issue. You know, it's kind of become a seasonal flu issue. It's always going to be here. It looks like there's always another variant. They're still giving out shots. If you really want one, you can get one. You know, and on the opposite side, I know it's close quarters, and if we all been at Costco at noon, that's pretty close quarters at the hot dog stand at Costco. So I understand you can kind of nitpick that all you want. I do believe that the 90-degree rule, we do that right now with overseeding twice a year. I think we can do that year-round, do it for a couple years, and then have the USGA, again, come back and see how we are doing with this new rule. I don't think we need to ticket people. I think the rangers and the clubhouse starters can educate. There's probably a lot of kids out there, or college kids, maybe they failed math and don't know the 90-degree rule. I think education is the way to go with the rangers and the clubhouse staff. And again, I think we should, my request is not to vote for this motion. Thank you.
Madam President?
Thank you. Director Collins.
Just one thing, sir. The 90-degree rule is in effect on every course every day. It's not just during reseeding.
So Director Collins, again, it's education, because I believe a lot of golfers don't know that. They only know it when it's announced from the starters in the clubhouse. You know, it's raining today, it's really wet, we're doing the 90-degree rule.
Yeah.
Or it's overseeding, it's 90-degree rule. It's never really been educated to say, you know what, we need to do we're doing 90-degree rules in Sun City all the time.
Brian, do you have anything to say on that?
I do. The starters they give that speech virtually probably 3 or 4 times an hour. 90-degree rule from the cart path, please fix your divots, please repair your ball marks, keep your carts away from greens and tees. Some may do it a little bit, you know, Paul at Lakes West is probably the best at it. Not everyone's as comfortable on a microphone as others, but it's all part of the regimen.
So I do agree with you there. When I play in the mornings, they do announce 90-degree rule. But I play in the afternoons a lot, it's not announced. And so again, I believe for the golfers who play a lot, we understand that. But for the 20 or 30%, maybe 40% who, one, don't repair their divots in the fairway or don't repair their ball marks on the greens, there's always going to be that minority that doesn't know it. But I believe there's a percentage that would follow that if they were educated all the way through. And I believe people just don't realize that there is a 90-degree rule. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Alex Pannone.
Thank you. Alex Pannone, 140359. The world is a different place now post-COVID, and it's still here. We are a senior community, and I do believe that 3 carts is probably the way it should have been years ago. But currently now, as we age, asking strangers who don't know each other's health to get into a golf cart with someone they don't know versus what can happen to the turf, what's the trade-off of killing members by them getting sick or having a little bit of turf damage? I think we stay with 5 golf carts because we are a senior community and people are aging. I'm not in a situation where I'm super worried about getting sick, but a lot of our 70, 80, and 90-year-old people who you're going to ask to share a golf cart with someone they don't know are going to be at risk, and you're going to hurt this community health-wise if you make this change. Are we damaging the turf? Maybe. You know, what we've heard from Brian is he doesn't know if it's different before or after. So we leave it where it is. We put in some ropes. A lot of golf courses will put in ropes and won't let you off of the path to scatter. So each day we change those ropes where people can scatter, and that's what these top-end golf courses are doing to maintain their turf. Asking people to get into a golf cart with someone they don't know and they get sick, we could have a big liability if we prove that the person that they were riding with had COVID and they die of COVID. Their family will then sue us, the community.
Thank you.
Harry Emerson.
Good morning, everybody. Harry Emerson, 130678. At the risk of irritating a whole bunch of folks in the back of the room about this issue, I'm here to speak in favor of the motion as I did last week. Just as a reminder, this initiative has passed Golf Advisory Committee twice. The first time the vote was 12-3, and then after the controversy that started when everybody came back, we modified it. Instead of the 5-3, 4-2, it's 3 carts, whatever the size of your group. That motion was 7-4-1. And I can tell you, to the previous discussion, I actually lost a lady on the Willow Creek, Willowbrook Greens Committee because of the 3+3 maximum. So that will help us out to try and get volunteers. Brian has shown the U.S. GA position, and I think back to the idea of, less is less, more is more. If you look at the data that was passed out earlier, Willow Creek, year to date, has got 53,000 rounds of golf played on it so far. You take 10% of that off for walkers, that's 40,000 and change. That is a whole lot of wheels all over the place on these golf courses that would be reduced by 40%. If it's a good idea, why isn't everybody doing 5 carts? And I could rattle off the courses around the area and around the country that don't do that. We worked through all the issues, all the valid issues that came up before. I played golf with Ron a couple weeks ago, and we went through this again on Saturday morning. But it's a preference. I would like to have my own golf cart, sure. But the benefits that it offers to us, I think, are worth it. Plus the initiatives that other folks have talked about, stakes, sticks, widening the parking areas, are all good measures to take. Enforcement, if it passes, is going to be quite the challenge, and I know Brian is prepared for that. And I'll just leave it at that. Less is less, more is more. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President, everyone who signed up has spoken.
Thank you. Is there any discussion by the directors?
Yes.
Secretary Totten.
Thank you. 3 things. I'm just observing that we have several speakers who are talking against the passage of this, and a table full, if I'm not mistaken, back there. But we have the Golf Advisory Committee, who is supposed to represent these people, asking for this. So that's one thing. The second thing is education was mentioned several times. Again, I'd like to go on record saying that perhaps even if it's 10,000 people, I'm sure we could find a place on a golf course where you all could meet. It's time that it sounds like we need to educate the golfers on the rules. The third thing, I do agree with the recommendation, but since it's been determined previously in a conversation that the Golf Advisory Committee may be out of compliance due to ineligible members, I'm going to vote no.
Thank you. Other director comments?
Madam President.
Director Collins.
I'm here, I have to support this motion, even though when I get home, I'll catch hell for it. But I sit here and I hear everyone say they don't want to be near someone that could have COVID, and I look at the tables and you're all sitting about the same as you would in a golf cart. It's just an observation. And a question for Brian. And as far as our budget went this year, how are we doing with golf?
Through November, we were about $100,000 favorable to the budgeted number.
So maybe you could take the money at the end and put it towards pavers or whatever around the tees or greens and fix some of these problems.
Some of the excess money we're investing in chemicals for next year to tackle our weed problem that's been, to get a better handle of that. So
okay.
Our goal is to be at budget by the end of, right at the budgeted number at the end of December. So
sounds good.
As far as pavers and stuff like that, we can certainly find other, we know we have to fix what's out there now. It's just to fix it and not change anything, it seems like we'd be throwing good money away. So
right.
That's why we want to make a change and then fix the problems that we've caused. So.
Okay, and more flags up around areas, maybe in the ropes,
yeah,
like Alex.
I'm not, with all respect to Alex, I'm not in favor of the ropes because those are a tripping hazard in general. They work in some areas better than others. If you're just directing traffic off a cart path, it's okay. Around greens and tees, they're problematic as well. So we don't want to see people tripping and falling either. So.
Right. And, you know, I hope that in 2 months, we don't have a whole room full of golfers here that are upset because they got ticketed for not following the 90-degree rule. But that is going to be one way that we start fixing our courses, is by actually taking action when our rules are broken. And that would not only be for the residents, but for the non-residents, they would have penalties assessed with them. And that's going to happen, and I know I see it.
Director Collins, this is a cart motion.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have any other comments with regard, from the directors with regard to the motion? Vice President McAdam.
Yeah, so it seems to me like there's broad consensus that we have a problem. It's the deteriorating condition of our golf courses. And what I'm hearing is that there are a couple of different approaches towards a solution. One, let's say 3. One solution would be to say, leave the cart situation the way that it is and work on enforcing the rules that we have robustly. That could solve the problem. The other is to restrict the number of carts, and then the third option would be some kind of combination of the two. And I guess what I'm hearing is that this was evaluated by the Golf Advisory Committee. I'm just looking at something here in the bylaws that says the Greens Committee members will listen to golfers' complaints and concerns in order to provide input for improving all aspects of the golf program. I presume that to some degree that has happened. The votes were not unanimous. My concern is that I don't feel like I, as a board member, am qualified to judge between these 3 different options of how to solve this problem. And I'm asking to make, I guess I would like to know and to be completely confident of the idea that the pros and cons of each of these three different approaches have been carefully weighed, and that we're arriving at a decision that isn't going to make everybody happy, but is what we believe to be the best decision. I don't feel like I can make this decision. So I don't know, do my other board members feel like you're...
All of these aspects were weighed by the Golf Advisory Committee when they made their recommendation. One of their votes was unanimous. I'm not sure if it was this one, but I think it was, because they changed this from what they had previously requested in accordance with comments they received from members at the last go-around. Director Fast.
I just have one question, Brian. What is the industry standard?
2 people per golf cart.
Okay.
If single golf cart ridership was a best practice and good for golf courses, it would be widely utilized.
Okay.
Obviously, a community such as ours is different, where everybody's driving their own golf cart, and it's not a company that's buying golf carts. Yeah. But I would challenge, and I would love to find the person out there that says 5 golf carts is better for a golf cart than 3.
Okay, so but the industry standard is 2 people per golf cart.
Yes.
You know, to your point, again, I'm not a big golfer, so I don't know, all the ins and outs. And so I kind of rely on the industry standard. And if we're in the middle of the industry standard, then I think we're doing the best we can.
Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Director Nowakowski.
Brian, what's the industry standard on 5 people on at the same time?
That's not a standard either. And I'm not going to say that I've never worked at a golf course. That I'm sure there's courses in California that do it. Courses that have higher demand that do it from time to time. I've gone, when I was a manager for American Golf, we went back and forth. We had 4s, we had 5s. It would change from time to time. But the general standard is 4 players.
If there are no further comments from the, yes, Director Collins.
We are doing 4. We're not mandating 5, correct?
I'm sorry?
We're not mandating 5 on a course.
We don't mandate 5, we just allow 5.
Yes, if they have a 5th member, we allow that.
Yes.
And Brian, the next question that comes up with that is that was also due to COVID. Before COVID, we did not allow 5, did we?
No, that's incorrect.
Is incorrect?
The history of Sun City that I've read, the FISMs started with the men's club plays on Wednesday because they had gotten to the point where they had too many members and weren't able to get all their golfers out on Wednesdays. So they started playing 5 on Wednesdays. And at some point, I would imagine it turned into, well, if they can do it on Wednesday, why can't we do it every day? And that's where we are now. So that's been in effect for at least close to 50 years.
Are there further comments from the directors? Hearing none, Secretary Taunton, please take the roll call vote.
Thank you, President Kimmel. Director Collins.
Yes.
Director Nowakowski.
Yes.
Director Fast.
Yes.
Vice President McAdam.
Yes.
Director Ruff.
Yes.
Director Nichols.
Yes.
President Fimmel.
Yes.
And I vote no. That's 7 yes and 1 no.
With 7 yes and 1 no, the motion passes its first reading.
Madam President?
Director Collins.
I move to waive the second reading on this so we can enact it January 1st.
We have a motion to waive the second reading. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Director Fast seconds the motion. Discussion? None. Secretary Totten, please take the roll call vote.
Thank you. Director Collins?
Yes.
Director Nowakowski?
Yes.
Director Fast?
Yes.
Vice President McAdam?
No.
Director Ruff?
No.
Director Nichols?
Yes.
President Fimmel?
Yes.
And I vote no. That's 5 yes and 3 no.
With 5 yes, 3 no, the motion to waive passes. The motion is adopted. Ladies and gentlemen, we've come up to the 10:30 mark, and we will take a short 10-minute break. Thank you. We will resume. The next item of business is a motion on behalf of the Club Organizing Committee with regard to Board Policy Number 12. Director Collins, please read your motion.
On behalf of the Club's Organization Committee, COC, I move to amend Board Policy 12, titled Charter Clubs, Section 8, titled Club Records and Reports as follows. We're going to add a paragraph in there, and the paragraph says, all club conduct reports must be retained in the club for 5 years, and a copy submitted to the Clubs and Activities Office, where it will be filed by rec number and retained for a minimum of 3 years. That's the only change to it.
Thank you. As maker of the motion, would you like to speak to it first?
Yes, please. I don't know what's happened over the last 3 years, but people have gotten mean. And my people who work with me on the COC are running ragged. People causing trouble in the clubs and just creating havoc. And the issue we have is someone will go into, let's say, a sewing club and create havoc, and they get suspended. And then eventually, you know, while they're on suspension, they go and they join another sewing club. Well, they get there and they create the same havoc there that they did in the first club. So then there's more reports written on them, and they're all at the club level, and the club level's keeping them. Well, in that 1 year time period, they might have gotten 5 reports on them in 2 different clubs. No one knows about this. It stays at the club level. So if what this does is would let a code of conduct come to the offices where they file it under their rec number, and if they get X amount, which has not been determined, or what would happen has not been determined, that would be at a later date. But a flag would pop up that this person has been in club conducts in all these clubs within the 3-year period or 2-year period, whatever. And then the COC could look at that and say, what is going on here? And there could possibly be a punishment where you can go to the pools and the fitness and the golf, but you couldn't be in a club for 30-day suspension if this is what's happening. So that's why we need to follow the paper trail, and it needs to go to the club's office where a flag could pop up if you were a habitual offender in these clubs. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, please read the names of members who have signed up to speak on this motion only.
Madam President, no one signed up to speak on this motion.
Directors, are there any comments from a discussion with the directors? No discussion. Secretary Totten, please take the roll call vote. We'll give you a moment.
I have my mouth full, excuse me.
That's okay, take your time.
Director Collins?
Yes.
Director Nowakowski?
Yes.
Director Fast?
Yes.
Vice President McAdam?
Yes.
Director Ruff?
Yes.
Director Nichols?
Yes.
President Fimmel?
Yes.
And the secretary, who had her mouth full of cookies, votes yes. That's 8 yes.
8 yes. Motion passes its first reading.
Madam President.
Director Collins?
I'd like to make an amendment to waive the second reading so we can start this January 1st.
There's a motion to waive the second reading. Is there a second?
A second.
Seconded by Director Fast. Any discussion by the directors? Yeah, Director Ruff.
Is this really an emergency that they can't wait till January and February? I don't like the waiving second readings unless it's really necessary.
Director, Vice President McAdam.
My response to that is that if there was a scintilla of opposition to this, I would agree with you. But there appears to be none. None on the board, none among our membership. And for that reason, I will favor waiving it.
I agree with you on that point.
Thank you. Secretary Taunton, go ahead and take the roll call vote.
I would just like to add that I agree with you on that point, but there are only 30 people here, maybe, and so I'm not sure that that's totally representative of our membership. Director Collins?
Yes.
Director Nowakowski?
Yes.
Director Fast?
Yes.
Vice President McAdam?
Yes.
Director Ruff?
Yes.
Director Nichols?
Yes.
President Fimmel?
Yes.
And I vote no. That's 7 yes and 1 no.
By a vote of 7-4, 1 opposed. I'm sorry?
7-1, you said 7-4.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had some people in my pocket. By a vote of 7-1, the motion to waive the second reading has passed, and the motion is adopted. Okay. We have reached second readings. Second readings do not require a second. The first item is a motion by Director Fast. Director Fast, please read your motion.
I move that senior management is hereby directed to assist the board and present a draft board policy setting forth the principles and process for which a long-range plan must be prepared with the goal of presenting the board policy to the board at the February board meeting.
As maker of the motion, would you like to speak to it first?
Yes, Madam President. As we all know, we've had a gap in our planning cycle relating to long-range planning that other communities take on as a matter of course. This is to plug that gap, and I think if you're looking at this, what I would encourage you to do is say, this is the policy and the process, not necessarily the plan. That plan, I would hope, would be developed throughout the year. So I just want to make that point. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, please read the name of the members who have signed up to speak on this motion only.
Madam President, no one signed up to speak on this motion.
Okay. Is there any discussion by the directors? Seeing none, Secretary Taunton, please take the roll call vote.
Thank you, Madam President. Director Nichols?
Yes.
Director Collins?
Yes.
Vice President McAdam?
Yes.
Director Ruff?
Yes.
Director Nowakowski?
Yes.
Director Fast?
Yes.
President Fimmel?
Yes.
And I vote yes. That's 8 yes.
With a vote of 8 yes, the motion passes its first reading.
Second.
I'm sorry, passes its second reading, and the motion is adopted. Thank you. Forgot we were doing second readings. Next is a motion by Director Ruff. Director Ruff, please read your motion.
I move to change the reference bylaws sections in each of the following board policies which reference a non-existent article section. And that's board policy numbers 1, 2, 3, 6, 8, 9, 16, 19, 20, 21, 24, 27, 31, and 33. And they all say, whereas Article 4, Section 7, the corporate bylaws empowers it, it's that there is no such section. So it's whereas Article 5, Section 6.3 in all of those cases. It's a simple correction. Thank you.
Thank you. As maker of the motion, do you wish to speak to it first?
Yes, I was doing some changes on a different, on one of the items and couldn't find the reference, so I finally found it, and I thought, where else could it be? Maybe it's in a couple more, and then it was more than half of them. So somewhere we changed something in the bylaws that we didn't catch in the policies. And it's a very simple change and non-controversial.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, please read the names of members who signed up to speak to this motion only.
Madam President, no one signed up to speak on this motion.
Thank you. Is there any discussion by the directors? Director Fast.
This is just to clean up. The motion has Board Policy 6 twice. Is that your intent?
No, I noticed that last time, and I thought I asked Marcia to take it out. Maybe I forgot to tell her.
Okay.
It was in there by accident. That was me. I sent her the document.
Oh, no. I was just, because we're in a formal motion, I was going to make a friendly amendment to eliminate the second one.
We're going to correct it twice.
Is this administrative? I mean, it wasn't in the first.
It was in the first.
It was in the first.
Yes.
Oh, this was in the first?
Yes.
As well? I withdraw that motion.
Okay.
Thank you. Secretary Totten, please take the roll call vote.
Thank you, President Vemmel. Director Nichols?
Yes.
Director Collins?
Yes.
Vice President McAdam?
Yes.
Director Ruff?
Yes.
Director Nowakowski?
Yes.
Director Fast?
Yes.
President Vemmel?
Yes.
And I vote yes. It's 8 yes votes.
With a vote of 8-4, none opposed, the motion passes its second reading and is adopted. Next is a motion by Director Ruff. Director Ruff, please read your motion.
I move to revoke all board approvals relating to option 2 for Mountain View Recreation Center and pickleball courts at Lakeview, and to cancel all contracts relating to either project.
As maker of the motion, do you wish to speak to it first?
Yes, I would. As the SAC went through their process, this was on hold, and what's been recommended does not increase this or include this as even an option, so I think we need to remove and cancel the contracts to just clean up that process.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, please read the names of members who signed up to speak on this motion only.
Lori Ellingson.
Good morning. Lori Ellingson, 133335. I would like to thank Director Ruff for bringing this motion forward, and I am in favor of the motion. I have sent 3 emails that were written 2.5 years ago to the RCSC Board of Directors. So that has a lot of detail in it with my reasoning for supporting this motion. Too many details in my 3 minutes to go through, but I would appreciate it because there are new board members and there are also new staff members. I would appreciate if they could take the time to review all of those issues. And also, Director Totten, if we would be able to put those concerns on the new communication website. I did notice a lot of members at our annual member meeting were confused when Russ Tolman brought this same issue up for a member vote. A lot of the members didn't realize the difference between option 2 presented by CCBG that was approved in June of 2021, 2.5 years ago, And they got up and they started speaking about option M, which the SAC committee was talking. So we need to keep it simple, use the KISS principle, keep it simple, sweetheart, and make it understandable for the members to realize what exactly they're voting for. So if you could get that information out in a simple form so people could understand, that would be greatly appreciated. On Thursday, April 29th, 2021, I went to the board meeting and got up and spoke. I don't have the full length of time to discuss everything that I said in that board meeting, but basically, I spoke on the option 2 at that time and suggested that we separate the theater from the rec center at Mountain View based on noise factor, parking spaces, cost involved, and lack of fiduciary responsibility in expenditures, inconvenience to the various clubs utilizing the Mountain View Rec Center, and therefore I suggested that we separate the theater from the rec center. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President, everyone who signed up has spoken.
Thank you. Do we have any discussion by the directors? Secretary Totten, please take the roll call vote.
Thank you, President Fimmel. Director Nichols?
Yes.
Director Collins?
Yes.
Vice President McAdam?
Yes.
Director Ruff?
Yes.
Director Nowakowski?
Last time through on the first read, I voted, I abstained because I didn't know if there's any cost involved in this. I'm not sure that there is or still isn't, but I will vote yes.
Director Fast?
Yes.
President Fimmel?
Yes.
And I vote yes. That's 8 in affirmative.
With 8 votes in the affirmative, the motion passes its second reading and is adopted. Next is a motion by Director Ruff. Director Ruff, please read your motion.
I move to amend Board Policy Number 32, titled General Manager, as follows. Management consists of employees designated as directors by the General Manager, and deletes the Director of Finance, Director of Operations. And this gives the General Manager the ability to name his own management folks without having to come back and change this every time something has changed.
Thank you. Did you wish to speak first to this motion?
Yes. I had talked to Matthew about this previously, and we agreed with the employees designated as directors by the general manager, but I think he may have had wanted to drop the title of director in that.
Yes. That is true. And I think there's the difference between the two versions here. In the one that's in the shorter version, it just says by title for the general manager, not director. It doesn't spell out director.
Good.
So if you look at the short version of the agenda, it's different than the long version. So that's the one that's the short version that is preferred.
Okay, then I would like to make an amendment to this.
Was it not?
I think it's just a typo.
Director,
Was that typo?
Director Ruff, was it not the shorter version that said by title? I think that's what passed the first reading.
Yes.
Oh, if that's the case, then it's just a typo.
Okay.
Employees designate. What word did you use?
By title.
By title, that's right. By title.
He can name his employees by title.
I thought I had changed that.
You did.
Okay.
The other one's the same way.
So that's employees designated by title by the general manager.
Correct.
Yes. Yeah.
It does not need anything. That's how it was first passed. Any further comments from the directors? Secretary Taunton, please take the roll call vote.
Thank you, President Vimmel. Director Nichols.
Yes.
Director Collins.
Yes.
Vice President McAdam.
Yes.
Director Ruff.
Yes.
Director Nowakowski.
Yes.
Director Fast.
Yes.
President Vimmel.
Yes.
And I vote yes. It's 8 in affirmative.
With 8 votes in the affirmative, the motion passes its second reading and is adopted. The next motion is from Director Ruff. Director Ruff, please read your motion.
I move to amend bylaws section titled Definitions, letter L, as follows. Senior management is defined as the employees designated by title by the general manager, and deletes the director of finance, director of operations, et cetera. So it's,
Thank you.
the first one was policy, this one is bylaws. Same issue.
Ms. John, did wish to speak to it first?
Yes, this is to give Matthew the flexibility to organize it without having to come back and forth on different positions.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Johnson, please read the names of members who signed up to speak on this motion only.
Madam President, no one signed up to speak on this motion.
Thank you. Is there any discussion by the directors? Secretary Taunton, please take the roll call vote.
Thank you, President Vimmel. Director Collins.
Yes.
Vice President McAdam.
Yes.
Director Ruff.
Yes.
Director Nowakowski.
Yes.
Director Fast.
Yes.
President Vimmel.
Yes.
And I vote yes. That's 7 yes.
We need 8 votes.
I believe.
Oh, Mr. Denny left.
He left.
7.
Yes.
7 votes in the affirmative. Motion passes its second reading and is adopted. That should complete our second readings. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
The next item is the consent agenda, which by revision of the agenda, meeting agenda, was moved to this point in the meeting as a motion and not a consent agenda item. Vice President McAdam, will you please read your motion?
Yes, so the motion is to add a Section 3 capital improvement fee, and I'll go ahead and read it just to fulfill the requirement of doing so, but would like to just point out in advance that this pretty much perfectly mirrors the language that is attached to the PIF fee as well. So a capital improvement fee assessment hereinafter referred to as the SIF assessment or a SIF assessment or the SIF assessment as determined by the board shall be imposed on the purchase, acquisition, transfer, inheritance, gift, or any change in ownership of legal or beneficial interest in the title to a property, 1, pursuant to any deed, contract of sale, will, or other instrument or document transferring an interest in such property so long as the original payer of the SIF assessment no longer retains a majority, 50% or more ownership interest in the property, or 2, following the death of the last payer of said SIF assessment for the property, resulting in owners who have not paid said SIF assessment for the property owning a majority, 50% or more ownership interest, or 3, following the death of the last original grantor under a trust which holds title to the property, or 4, following the death of the last holder of a life estate.
Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Seconded by Director Nowakowski. As maker of the motion, would you like to speak to it first?
Very briefly, yes. So there was a previous motion that was passed to implement a capital improvement fee. So this addition is simply the verbiage that has been, was delegated to management to provide to make the bylaws comport with the decision that was previously made.
Thank you. At the time that this was, the meeting, this was not a motion, and so there was no opportunity to sign up for members to speak. So if there are any members who wish to speak to this item now, please come to the podium and do so. Ms. Ellingson.
Just one quick question. Will this apply to all homeowners, or will it only apply to new people purchasing from here on out? So will current homeowners be grandfathered in?
I believe this is a fee that is assessed at the time of a property transfer. So if there's a property transfer, it would be assessed.
Okay, thank you.
Kevin, that's correct, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Right, so we're not going to everybody and telling everybody that they need to pay this. It only happens at the time of a property transfer as described in the motion itself.
My question, because when they started the PIF, they grandfathered anyone that had purchased their home before the PIF was approved. So that's my question, is anyone that purchases a home before you approve the SIF, would they be grandfathered in?
I'm going to defer to Kevin on that one.
Yeah, I think the word deferring or grandfathered is a little confusing. Basically, if you've already purchased a home, you're not going to be paying a SIF. It's for future transfers of properties, sales of homes that happen really after January 1 of 2024.
So if somebody purchased a home in 2015, and then they added an additional person onto their deed, would they be required to pay that?
If it satisfies the definition of a property transfer, there would be a SIF fee charged. Same exact rules that we apply for the application of a PIF fee would be followed for the SIF fee as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Cheryl McLean, 100212. Does this mean if you put your property into a trust, you have to pay the PIF again? Okay.
That's a very difficult question because it depends on how you transfer the property into a trust, right? That's a difficult question to just answer without understanding exactly what's being done.
If a couple owns a home and they want to put their home into their trust.
And there's no additional people added into the trust, then
Correct.
There would not be a PIF.
Okay, now it used to be, and I brought this up at the annual meeting, if you sell your home, you're downsizing, and you want to buy a smaller home and it's done in the same year, do you have to pay the PIF?
Not if the home you purchased is in Sun City.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. But if you wait over a year, then you have to do it.
Yes, if you sell a home and wait more than a year and then purchase another home in Sun City, say 2 years later, then because our bylaws say that if you sell and buy within 1 year, that second PIF would be waived. But if that period of time between ownership exceeds a year, then the purchase of the new home would have a PIF applied to that purchase.
Okay, so this what we're talking about right now is that what this is all about?
This is basically putting the verbiage into the bylaws which allow the RCSC to charge the SIF fee that was approved previously at previous board meeting.
What's the difference between a SIF and a PIF?
PIF is for large projects that exceed $300,000, and SIF fee is for projects that are less than $300,000, capital projects, not large PIF projects.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I ask Director McCurdy, since we're talking about the SIF, and you mentioned a year's time. If it went beyond a year, you would pay the PIF. Would you also pay the SIF?
Correct.
Thank you.
Bill Pearson, 133438. A couple of points, Gene, that was where I was going. So the SIF and the PIF will be if it goes beyond a year. There's also that piece of the puzzle that has caused us some consternation, you and I, Kevin, as I've argued over people that had to prove that back in 2003, they were the payee of the PIF. Nobody keeps check stubs to that date. And people get added to deeds, and people become longstanding members, and then the spouse dies because back in the day. So I'm confused from the standpoint, if I've paid the $4,000 over the years and I sell my house, I'm not going to be, and then I buy another place. I didn't pay the SIF, so I'm not going to have to pay that if I sell within a year.
And buy a second Sun City residence within that same year, correct.
Okay, so we're not going to end up where somebody's going, yeah, you bought way back when, and we're going to make sure you pay the SIF because you didn't pay that when you first paid. There's some lack of clarity, as we know, and as we go down the road. I'm not sure the value of clinging to this. Whoever wrote the check back in 2003 is a good argument. I would think more the reference has always been there for who was on the deed. Even though they were added later, it would seem to me if someone's on the deed, husband and wife, don't ask me to prove on a check that was written 20 years ago. That's illogical. So I would just hope that whatever we do here, I'm all for it. I just would hope that we not get into that jackpot where we're chasing people that have been long-standing members to squeeze another $1,000 or $4,000 out in this case. So there's some absolute clarity on it. The other thing is, I know Tom has said this. I just checked with my good friend Ben, and he said the same thing. This is the end of the year. It's now a motion, not a consent agreement, and motions die at the end of the year, and you'll have to start over again. So you're aware of that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Director Collins.
Kevin, could I just ask you one question? If you had a house and you bought another house, you would have to pay the PIF and the SIF. And then if you sold your house within the year, then they give you a refund, correct?
So two scenarios. If you sell a house in Sun City and buy another house in Sun City within 1 year, then you would not pay the PIF-SIF on the second home purchase. The other scenario, I think you're talking about the reverse of that.
Yep.
Can you run through that second scenario?
If you owned a house and you bought another one, and meanwhile your house sold within the year, then they would give you a refund.
That's correct. Yep.
So you would have to pay it in the second one, but then you would get it back.
If they're very concurrent transactions, we will often tell the individual not to pay the second one because we have the inquiries from title on the transactions. Right. So it depends. If they're separate, distinct transactions, then we would collect it, but then we would refund it.
Right.
Okay. Are there any director comments?
Yes, Madam President.
Secretary Totten.
Okay, just to get a little history here, the board was presented with the budget, and the budget included, correct me if I'm wrong, any of you people on the budget committee, that the budget was approved, and then we also approved in another motion to put a $1,000 fee, and that was to go for, and what was that, Director McAdam, Vice President McAdam?
For capital improvements that don't meet the restrictions of PIF.
Okay, so the motion, everything passed twice as it was supposed to. That's a done deal. What we were waiting for is we had asked management to please come up with verbiage so that we could allow this to go into the bylaws. Director McCurdy took it to the lawyer, came up with this verbiage, and here it is. My bad. I was not under the impression that the SIF was going to have to be paid every time. I thought it was a one-time fee. That's my bad. I didn't understand that. I also would like to state, I am not happy with Section 3, the capital improvement fee section. I'm not going to take it up this year, but I have a real problem with it, being both legal and moral.
Director Totten, can I just ask a question? When you said one-time fee, this is a one-time fee similar to the PIF when a home is purchased in Sun City. This is not an annual fee like the assessment is. This is a one-time that is related to the purchase or transfer of a property in Sun City.
But I disagree with that term, one-time fee, because we tell everyone, when you move to Sun City, you pay a one-time fee of $4,000 and now a one-time fee of $1,000. But if you sell within the year and you don't, or what is it? If you want to sell your home within a year and it doesn't sell, it's not a one-time fee. You expect us to pay that. Now, granted, refund, all right, explain it. I'm sorry.
I'm a little confused. So if you purchased a home, you would pay the PIF and the SIF.
Right.
If at some point in the future you sold that home and purchased another home, you wanted to upsize or downsize, if those two transactions happened within a 12-month period,
Within a 12-month
there would
period.
not be a second PIF or SIF charged.
So it's within a 12-month period.
Correct.
So if you don't sell your home within a 12-month period, are you not paying it twice? Is it still a one-time fee?
If you purchased a second home and didn't sell the first home within 12 months, then yes, you would pay twice. You now own two homes in Sun City.
And that's the current PIF procedure.
Correct.
And this is essentially an extension of the PIF, of which we're taking one small piece and calling it the SIF.
Correct.
So the condition of the SIF is no different than the condition of the PIF. There's nothing new or unusual here.
The verbiage is identical to the verbiage that empowers RCSC to collect a PIF fee.
Yes, thank you for the clarification. And again, I am not happy with the verbiage, and sometime in the future, I hope to be able to take up that matter because of both legally and morally, I just kind of oppose the way it's worded.
Thank you. Do we have further director comments? Secretary Taunton, please take the roll call vote.
Thank you. Director Collins?
Yes.
Vice President McAdam?
Yes.
Director Ruff?
Yes.
Director Nowakowski?
Yes.
Director Fast?
Yes.
President Fimmel?
Yes.
And I vote no. That's 6 yes and 1 no.
With 6 yes and 1 no, this motion passes its first reading.
Madam President, I move to waive the second reading.
Okay, we have a motion to waive,
Second.
seconded by Director Collins. Any comment? Secretary Taunton, please take the roll call vote.
Thank you. Excuse me. Director Collins?
Yes.
Vice President McAdam?
Yes.
Director Ruff?
Yes.
Director Nowakowski?
Yes.
Director Fast?
Yes.
President Fimmel?
Yes.
And I vote no. So that's 6 yes and 1 no.
With 6 yes and 1 no vote, the motion passes its second reading and is adopted. On to new business. The first item of new business is a motion by Director Fast.
Yes, Madam President. I move to adopt the mission, vision, and value statement proposed by the Long Range Planning Committee and reviewed with the members and employees as the official mission, vision, and value statement. This statement shall replace the existing mission, vision, and value statement. The statement proposed reads as follows. Mission, to maintain a financially sustainable, corporation which provides our members with a wide range of high-quality amenities, recreational opportunities, and social activities to enhance each member's sense of well-being and purposes. I think that should be purpose. But vision to be a national leader in 55-plus socially active lifestyle communities. Values. We are committed to making members our highest priority and giving them high-quality services. We value our friendly and welcoming community and want to pass that along to future generations. We value teamwork and each person's contribution to the community. We maintain and improve amenities, operations, and infrastructure to modern, attractive, and environmentally friendly standards. We believe data and technology should be harnessed to support health, safety, efficiency, and maintain the integrity of our decision process. We plan for our future.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice President McAdam. Director Faust, as maker of the motion, would you like to speak to it first?
Yes, I would. I'd like to thank all of the people that put so much hard work into this. It's been a long time since we've visited our mission, vision, and value statement, and this really is our guidepost for what we want to accomplish as a excuse me, as a recreational community. There were probably 13 to 14 versions of this, and lots of great input, and you know, it was just a tremendous team effort by all that participated, and I want to thank them.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson, please read the names of members who signed up to speak for this on this motion only.
Madam President, no one signed up to speak on this motion.
Is there any discussion by the directors? Secretary Taunton, please take the roll call vote.
Thank you, President Fimmel. Director Collins?
Yes.
Vice President McAdam?
Yes.
Director Ruff?
Yes.
Director Nowakowski?
Yes.
Treasurer Fast?
Yes.
President Fimmel?
Yes.
And I vote yes. That's 7 yes.
With 7 affirmatives, none against, the motion passes its first reading.
Madam President, I move to waive the second reading.
There is a motion to waive the second reading. Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Seconded by Director Collins. Any discussion by the directors?
Madam Chair?
Discussion by Director Nowakowski.
I think with all the times we've passed the second read, we ought to eliminate the second read from our bylaws or follow it. It's nice that this is December and everything's come forth, but maybe some good planning prior to this. There's an old statement that says, your inability to plan correctly does not make it an emergency on my behalf. So I don't think that this needs a second read. It can wait. Let's follow the bylaws, or get rid of the second read and go back to, at one point in time, we had a 3-read process. Now almost every motion we've done so far in new motions is waive the second read. So eliminate it.
Director Fast.
Yeah, no, I would agree if we do that as a matter of course. I would say that because of procedural rules, any motion that only goes through a first read at year end and goes into another session has to go through 2 readings in the next session. And I believe that this particular motion has been through such a robust review process that I'd like to start out the new year with it.
Any other comment? Secretary Taunton, please take the roll call vote.
Thank you, President Fimmel. Director Collins?
Yes.
Vice President McAdam?
Yes.
Director Ruff?
Yes.
Director Noakowski.
No.
Treasurer Fast.
Yes.
President Fimmel.
Yes.
And I vote no. That's 5 yes and 2 no.
With a vote of 5-2 in the affirmative, the motion passes its second reading and is adopted. Next is a motion by Director Ruff. Director Ruff, please read your motion.
I think it's
No,
Director
what did I do?
Collins.
What did I do wrong? I have another Director Collins? Oh, I do have another Director Collins. Thank you.
I move to approve a $4,000 be paid to the Sun City Posse for their continued assistance with event parking and facility security in 2024. They handle all our concerts. They do a wonderful job. They handle all our festivals. And if we need them for other things, they're always there. Plus, they help the community. They do watches on the properties. They even started a new program, Are You OK? And it's a free program. All you have to do is go down and sign up, and every day at a certain time, Maricopa County Sheriff will call your house and see if you're okay. If you're not, then they will send someone. And it's free of charge. So that's something we need to get out there to our residents that the posse is doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice President McAdam. Director Collins, I think you just spoke to the
Oh,
motion.
I'm sorry. Yes,
Okay,
I
thank you.
did.
All right. Ms. Johnson, please read the names of any members who signed up to speak to this motion only.
Madam President, no one signed up to speak on this motion.
Thank you very much. Are there any discussion from the directors?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Director Noakowski.
This is another one. This is the third year in a row we're doing this motion that we pass every year in the last month of December.
It was forgotten.
I think there should be a flag, and let's get it up so we don't have to do waiving second reads, which I would expect to happen.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments by the directors? Secretary Totten, please take the roll call vote.
Thank you, President Fimmel. Director Collins.
Yes.
Vice President McAdam.
Yes.
Director Ruff.
Yes.
Director Noakowski.
Yes.
Treasurer Fast.
Yes.
President Fimmel.
Yes.
And I vote yes. That is 7 yes votes.
With 7 votes in the affirmative, motion passes its first reading.
Madam President, I
Director
move to
Collins.
waive the second reading.
There's a motion to waive the second reading. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice President McAdam. Any discussion by the
Yes, this was a total oversight. We forgot about it with everything going on with all the plannings and the elections and everything, or it would have been done sooner. And I apologize. I should have done this sooner, and for that, but I don't want to drag this into March. It's my fault, and I apologize.
Thank you. Are there any other comments by the director? Director Ruff.
I would suggest that Director Collins put the same motion on January for next year, and we'll pay him in January, and we won't have to worry about it.
Okay. Duly noted. Thank you. If there are no other comments, Secretary Totten, please read the roll call vote.
I would just like to comment and say that I'm definitely in favor of paying it, but I don't feel it's an emergency.
Thank you.
Director Collins,
Yes.
Vice President McAdam,
Yes.
Director Ruff,
Yes.
Director Noakowski.
I'm going to abstain. I can't vote no, and I can't vote yes, so I'll abstain.
Treasurer Fast,
Yes.
President Fimmel,
Yes.
and I vote no. That's 5 yes, 1 abstention, and 1 no.
5 yes, 1 no, 1 abstention. The motion passes its second reading and is adopted. Next is a motion by Director Ruff. Director Ruff, please read your motion.
I believe it's Director Fast.
Well, am I?
On the wrong page again.
That's okay.
We'll put this piece of paper away, just put it away. Okay.
Thank you.
Next is a motion by Director Fast. Director Fast, please read your motion.
Yes. Before I read the motion, probably much to the dismay of management, I move to withdraw this.
Is there any objection by the directors to the withdrawal of this motion? Hearing no objection, the motion is withdrawn. The next motion is by Director Nichols, who is not with us.
I'll read it, I guess, or I'll announce it.
If you wish.
I mean, I don't know how, we should announce it, right, even though he's not here.
Yeah, somebody should read it.
Yeah. I move to amend bylaws in Article 5 titled Board of Directors, Section 6, titled Board Director Duties, Commissions, and Senior Management as follows. And basically, he's eliminating everything in that section. Or adding. He's adding individual board members have no authority to direct or indirectly edit, redact, or modify any RCSC meeting recording for purposes of this section. For RCSC meeting recording shall mean a board membership meeting or committee meeting which is videotaped or otherwise electronically recorded by the RCSC. Any editing, redacting, or modifying of an RCSC meeting recording will require the written approval of the Board of Directors as such meeting recording. Violation of the bylaws by individual board members shall result in an automatic suspension from the RCSC Board of Directors for 30 days. On the suspension, the subjected board member shall not be allowed to participate in any board director activities, vote as a board member, or attend meetings of the directors other than the RCSC member in connection only with his or her suspension from the RCSC Board of Directors. The subject board member shall not be entitled to any adjunctive process set forth by Article 2, Section 5 of these bylaws. The bylaws shall be effective on or after January 25th, 2024.
Is there a second? Without a second, the motion dies. Thank you. I'm going to try one more time. Director Ruff, I believe you have a motion.
I do.
Okay.
I move to amend Board Policy 27 titled Standing Committees in two places as follows. In the policy, it says a standing committee is a small group of members subordinate to the board, which is organized to assist the board in specific areas as follows, and does not meet in the months of July and August unless approved by the board president is new language, that unless approved by the board president. Other months without meetings can be determined by each committee individually. That's in the, after all the first whereases in the policy. And then the next to last paragraph of the policy says standing committees shall not meet in the months of July and August. Changing that to standing committees do not meet in the months of July and August unless approved by the board president. Other months without meetings can be determined by each committee individually.
Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice President McAdam. Director Ruff is maker of the motion. Do you wish to speak to it first?
Yes, please. We all know that there were a number of standing committees that met through the summer for finance and budget and technology and some others. And in one place, it says shall not do that. So that needs to be changed. And then what I think I'll recommend is that we just redact that whole second part because it's just repetitive and it's saying the same thing. And I had changed the first one previously in a correction from shall not to does not and missed that it was on there a second time.
Okay, so you're making that now.
Yeah, I'd like to make an amendment now to delete the standing committees shall not meet in the months of July and August. Other months without meetings can be determined by each committee individually from the policy.
Is there any objection by the board? With no,
What are we changing?
Yes.
Director Ruff, could you please, with the specific thing you're just changing, could you repeat that?
Yes. The second paragraph that I talked about, which is the next to last paragraph in the policy, is duplicative of what's right after all the whereases and is unnecessary. And as I thought after I did it, it was like, well, we should just delete that.
So you're redacting that?
To redact that part of it, because it says the same thing that said earlier in the policy.
Secretary Totten has a comment.
Yes. I don't, because this is a first motion, and it's introduced in December, and it will need to be waived in order to go forward, I would like to suggest that we just pull this off and work on it and get it all correct and bring it back after the first of the year. I don't see that this is an emergency.
Do you wish to withdraw?
I will do so, yes. Thank you.
If there's no objection, the motion will be withdrawn. Thank you.
May I say something? I'm sorry about that because I was hoping I could say Director Nowakowski one more time.
Okay. Do any of the outgoing directors wish to make comment? One of our outgoing directors has left. I believe Mr. Nowakowski made his comments unless he wants to make one. And Director Ruff.
I would just like to thank everyone that voted for me. I'm going to blame you when I get a headache doing this stuff. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Who has a comment?
I would like to make a comment.
Director Collins.
I would like to thank all the golfers because the Golf Advisory Committee and the golfers have taken major steps this year to improve our courses. From the increase in the packages that they approved to the golf carts, reducing traffic on the courses. They understand that we had to change, and they have done it. It's not a happy, or I guess it's not an overwhelming opinion of everyone. But like we all say, there's 36,000 people here. You have to do things that are the best for them, for all of them. And I think the golfers have done that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any final comments before we close? Okay. The next exchange meeting will be on January 8th, 2024 at 9 a.m. in the Sundial Auditorium. The next meeting of the Board of Directors will be on January 25th at 9 a.m. here in Sundial. The annual member meeting will be on March 12th, 2024 at 6 p.m. at Sundial. We wish all our members a happy, healthy, and joyous holiday season. There being no further business and without objection, this meeting is adjourned. Please turn back on your electronic devices. Thank you.
Very good.
This is a copyrighted production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.